Hey guys, my name is Matumio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, I realize that many of you already know this, but if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a YouTube message. The first question for today comes from Isaac, and it is, what do you think about a dynamic damage model for soldiers? It always bothered me that when you shoot someone in the leg, it only does less damage. I'd like to have something like slower walk for the time when the bloody screen stays. So I've noticed that this question has popped up a bunch, and it's clear that many people would like Battlefield 4 to be a little bit more realistic with its damage. So when you get shot in the leg, like you would in real life, you probably wouldn't be moving as quickly, or if you got shot in the arm, trying to aim and take people out with your weapon would become a little bit more challenging. And so I get where people are coming from. They want that realism to be in the game. But at the same time, one of the things about modern first-person shooters, and especially the Battlefield franchise, is that people die very, very quickly. And while I guess it wouldn't hamper the game, and I could see that people could take advantage of it, I have a feeling that there would be very few situations where you'd be like, okay, I'm going to aim at the guy's legs to make it so that he can't move very quickly, and then I'm going to finish him off by going for some headshots when he's vulnerable. Like, no, you're just going to try to take him out as quickly as possible because it only takes you half a second to drop people. You don't need to make that conscious decision to go for their legs and then go for another part of their body. I mean, you could say that if they just duck behind cover, then maybe if you shot them in the leg, then you could mosey on over and take them out because they're not moving as quickly. But because people die so quickly in this game, I just feel like it just doesn't suit the Battlefield franchise, and it wouldn't enhance the game all that much more. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe if they did add this into the game, everyone would love it. I could be completely wrong, but I have a feeling that this would be much better suited for a video game or first-person shooter where people have a higher health pool or where engagements last longer. I recently played a game called Loadout where an engagement lasted, or a firefight lasted, for a good couple of seconds, and then in that time you could make the conscious decision to go for their legs, try to immobilize them, or shoot their arms so their accuracy is impaired, and then you can take them out. But for a game like Battlefield, because people die so quickly, I just don't think it's really needed. The next question comes from Jack, and it is, what do you think about DICE giving the tac light and flashlight a buff? In my opinion, it does not blind me at all, but just gives away my position when using it. It's funny that you bring this up because back in Battlefield 3, everyone hated the flashlight when it was in its prime. I mean, there was some people that I'm assuming loved it because they abused it like crazy, but if you wanted to be competitive and you were playing on a map like Operation Metro where it was very dark, or even if you were playing on a very bright map like Caspian Border, you needed to use the flashlight if you wanted to win an engagement with someone who was using a flashlight. The light that was coming out of that was incredible. It was basically a supernova in front of you, and I know some people would say, well, just shoot at the center of the light itself. That's where the enemy's gun is, and that's where they are. It wasn't as simple as that, and it honestly just detracted from the gameplay. Everyone was using this customization option, and so it was just like shooting at a bunch of bright lights all over the map, and it just wasn't the gameplay experience that many people were expecting when they jumped into Battlefield 3. And so DICE went in, they nerfed it to the point now, like it is in Battlefield 4, where no one wants to use this customization option, and I have a feeling that DICE isn't going to be making any changes to it in the near future because they don't want to risk it being blatantly overpowered like it was in the previous title. But honestly, if it just functioned more like it was supposed to in the real world, I have a feeling that more people would be on board with the concept of maybe giving this customization option a little buff in the power. Because I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you're outside and it's a bright sunny day, your pupil will contract. You will take in less light, and then if someone flashes a flashlight in your face, you realize it's there, but it's not blinding you. But if you go on over into a nighttime scenario where everything is pitch black, your pupil is going to dilate to bring in more light. And then when someone brings a flashlight, it will blind you because all of a sudden more light is getting into your retina. And like, that's just how science works. I know it's pretty crazy. But that's not how it worked in Battlefield 3, because if you were on a bright map like Caspian Border or on a dim map like Operation Metro, it blinded you all the same. There wasn't any differences between the two maps. And so if they were somehow able to make the distinction between a light map and a dark map, I have a feeling that more people would be on board. It would be more situational. You would use them on the dimmer maps like Dawnbreaker or Operation Locker, and you'd have more people running around with them there. But then if you want to transition on over onto brighter maps, you would see less of those customization options. But I would like to get your guys' take on this. Is this something that you would like to see in a future patch? Would you like DICE to give some loving to the flashlight, or do you want them to completely avoid that? You hated the way it functioned back in Battlefield 3. That is your nightmare. Let me know down below in the comment section. The next question comes from Proteus, and it is, how would you feel about DICE bringing back rubble kills like they had in Battlefield 3? So when I first read this question, I thought to myself, there has to be some map in Battlefield 4 that has rubble kills. It was one of the things that they advertised in Battlefield 3. It was in their opening trailer in Battlefield 3. They had someone dying to rubble as one of the cool factors of the game, and since they're all about levolution in the current game, where you can use the environment to your advantage to take out your targets, the world feels more alive, I would have assumed that there would be some way to kill people with rubble. But now that I think about it, there isn't a single map in this game that gives you the option to do that. And while in Battlefield 3 there was only a couple of maps that had that option, I think Grand Bazaar and Sand Crossing were the two major ones, and I think there were also a couple others that had that capability, but it was still an option in the game. It was some way that you could use the environment to your advantage to take out your targets, especially on those maps where things can get a little bogged down, and it was a useful way to clear out those long corridors. And so the fact that I can't even think of a single map in Battlefield 4 not only comes as a surprise, but it's baffling, because I would have assumed that this would be something that they would have transferred on over. And so I sat down, I tried to figure out why DICE decided to do this, and the only things I could come up with were they didn't enjoy the mechanic like it was back in Battlefield 3. They thought that it was maybe a little too gimmicky, maybe too many people were upset that it was too easy to get kills with it. That is definitely an option. Or it could be that the hardware or the servers could not handle that many destruction or dynamic events happening at any given moment. Like, can you imagine if Dawnbreaker or in Siege of Shanghai, if every single surface on that map could be rubbled, or you could take out a section of the wall and bring it down to the ground? It would be incredible. Like, I would be all for that, but I just don't know if the servers or the hardware or the game engine could handle that many dynamic events happening. I could be completely wrong. I'm not a game developer. This isn't my forte. It's not my specialty by any means, but those were the only two things that I could think of why DICE decided not to have it in the current game. The next question is, do you think that they should give the XM25 6 rounds, making it so that you could kill at least 2 people camping on rooftops before you have to reload? I know a lot of support players have been wanting this for a very long time, because it can be a little challenging to take out more than one player when using the XM25. But at the same time, you don't want to make this blatantly overpowered. And I think if they upgraded it to 6 from 4, then that would be pushing a little bit too much power in the favor of the XM25. It already is one of the best gadgets in the game right now. It's extremely powerful, even at taking people that are just around the corner. It doesn't even have to be camping snipers. If you know an enemy is just around the bend, you took out a couple of pot shots at him, instead of waiting for him to peek his head out, you can just finish him off with a couple of airburst rounds. And if they upped it to 6, while I don't know if it would be blatantly overpowered, but it would be easily one of the best gadgets in the game, hands down. You could take out even 3 or 4 people with 6 rounds just because the splash damage of it is so potent. I've killed 2 people with this, no problem with the way it currently functions. You just have to get a little lucky with it. And I even killed 3 people with 1 magazine at one moment. It was really lucky, don't get me wrong, but it is possible. And so while I know that many support players out there wouldn't mind this change, it would definitely increase the potency of it. We don't want this to be something that people run around as a primary. And I'm not saying that people would run around it with a primary if they did up it to 6 rounds in a magazine, but I just don't think that that buff is needed. I like the way it is right now. I think it's powerful, and so this is not a change that I want DICE to make. But yeah, guys, that is it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed this content. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a YouTube message. But until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.